This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Well, here's something of a milestone in the transition to electric vehicles. Oil behemoth Shell is going to dump some of its gas stations to help build out its EV charging network. It will divest 500 sites this year and another 500 next year as part of its energy transition strategy. Shell wants to have 200,000 public chargers globally by the end of the decade, up from 54,000 today, and it will focus on opening them in China and Europe. And speaking of China, the car market there may be slowing down, the industry may be saddled with too much capacity, and that ongoing price war. But Geely pretty much shrugged off all the bad news. It posted sales and profit numbers for 2023 that easily exceeded investor expectations. Revenue came in at almost $25 billion, and it posted a net profit of $738 million. That's only a 3.6% profit margin, but that could improve with higher sales. And the company expects to sell 1.9 million vehicles this year, up 13%, and it will spread across 11 brands that includes Geely, Lynk & Co., Zeekr, Volvo, Polestar, and Lotus. Electrified vehicles are pushing ICE vehicles to the side of the road in China. New energy vehicles, or NEVs, which includes BEVs, PHEVs, and fuel cells vehicles, hit 48.2% market share last week, according to BYD CEO. And he expects NEVs to reach a 50% market share in the next 3 months. Last year, NEVs accounted for 35% of sales in China, and just reaching a 45% share would increase NEV sales by 2 million units, according to BYD CEO. And that, folks, will be another milestone when NEVs hit 50% of the market. Even so, while NEV sales are soaring in China, there's still too many EV brands there, which is what triggered the vicious price war that's hurting profits for most automakers. Worse still, 3 defunct EV brands are now being resurrected. Jidu Electric Vehicles, Hema Automobile, and AI Ways, which either went bankrupt or were teetering on the edge, are being brought back to life, mainly with cash infusions from local governments, which put a greater priority on the jobs those companies generated rather than their profits. But this doesn't bode well for the Chinese EV market. It's already overcrowded, and last year, only 4 of the top dozen companies hit their sales targets.
We want to know what drives your testing. OTA, connected car, diagnostics, remote testing. Intrepid Control Systems is here to help you work from anywhere. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
Hands-free driving tech keeps moving forward, and Stellantis is investing in a French startup called Steerlight that developed Lidar-On-A-Chip. They call it silicon photonics, and it could be significantly cheaper than today's LiDAR systems. Steerlight says the chip develops full 3D images with no moving parts. And interestingly, Stellantis will work jointly with Steerlight to integrate the chip in future products rather than work with a supplier. It says by bringing it in-house, it will get to market faster, do it at lower cost, and end up with systems that are optimized for its vehicles. If it went with a supplier, it might get something that's commonized for many customers. Stellantis says Lidar-On-A-Chip will be an order of magnitude cheaper than other systems and will only cost a few $dozen. It expects to use 5 or 6 LiDARs per car, starting with its high-end vehicles from Maserati, Jeep, and DS. But silicon photonics for cars is still about 4 to 5 years away. We keep talking about how the auto industry is going through a historical transformation that's upending the old order. And here's yet another example of how it's disrupting the German supplier industry. Webasto, the supplier that makes roof modules like convertible tops and sunroofs, is going to cut 10% of its workforce, which would eliminate about 1,600 jobs. Last year, it only made about a 20 million euro EBIT on sales of 4.6 billion euros. Experts warn the German industry could lose 100,000 jobs by the end of the decade, so Webasto is now adding battery packs for EVs to its product portfolio. Other German suppliers like Bosch, Continental, and ZF have let go of thousands of employees. But it's not just a shift to EVs that's affecting legacy suppliers. Last year, new car sales in Europe were 5 million units below where they were pre-COVID. But then again, it just depends on what part of the business you're in. The German supplier Forvia reported a solid increase in sales and profits for last year. It makes things like high-tech headlamps, radar, and EV battery management systems. Sales were up more than 10% to nearly 8 billion euros, and its operating income shot up 65% to 486 million euros. Forvia was created in 2022 when French supplier Forvia merged with German supplier Hella. And based on these numbers, it looks like it was a good idea to put the two companies together. Peugeot's biggest SUV is migrating to Stellantis' new Stella medium platform. The all-new 7-passenger 5008 SUV will now feature mild hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and pure electric powertrains. The mild hybrid pairs a 136-horsepower gas engine with a 6-speed DCT. The PHEV has a 92-kilowatt electric motor, 150-horsepower engine, and while Peugeot doesn't say how big the battery is, it says it will have an estimated all-electric range of 80 kilometers or about 50 miles. The BEV version comes in front or all-wheel drive. Front drive models come standard with a 157-kilowatt or 210-horsepower electric motor or a 170-kilowatt or 227-horsepower unit. All-wheel drive has two motors that combine for 237 kilowatts or 317 horsepower. The battery chemistry is NMC, it's 400 volts, and has a capacity up to 98 kilowatt hours. That pack provides an estimated 660 kilometers or 410 miles of range. But there will be smaller versions that provide 500 kilometers or 310 miles of range. The interior has a lot of sharp-edged designs and features a high-mounted digital screen that also takes advantage of ChatGPT. Peugeot says the new E5008 will go on sale this fall. The all-new Hyundai Santa Fe is now available at dealerships in the US, and to me the design is more luxurious with a bit of a futuristic and technical flair. It's not only come a long way from the original 2000 model, but it's also a big departure from the previous generation, which is much less boxy. Powering the new Santa Fe is either a 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine mated to an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission, or a 1.6-liter turbocharged hybrid engine that gets paired with a 6-speed trans. Front-wheel drive is standard, but both can add all-wheel drive as well. Pricing will start just over $35,000 and range up to over $48,000, including destination charges, and tack on another $1,800 for all-wheel drive. The Volkswagen Group is strengthening its partnership with Israeli AV technology company Mobileye. The two companies are already collaborating on developing Level 2 and Level 3 assisted driving systems, and now they've announced that VW's premium brands, Audi, Bentley, Lamborghini, and Porsche, will integrate Mobileye's partially and highly automated driving systems into the future as well. Mobileye will also provide VW's commercial division with the hardware and software needed to achieve Level 4 autonomous driving, which will be equipped on versions of the ID. Buzz electric van. VW is working with Mobileye for now, but it says in the long term it plans to rely on its own in-house stack that's being developed by Cariad with the help from Bosch. We have a great Autoline After Hours coming up tomorrow afternoon. Mickey Bly, the head of global propulsion systems for Stellantis, will be on the show, and we're dying to hear what he has to say about PHEVs, range extenders, new IC engines, and even fuel cells. And if you'd like to hear what he has to say too, join John and Gary when the show goes live at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the Autoline website or on our YouTube channel. That's a wrap for this show. Thanks for tuning in.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey, and by Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering. Boost your game.
keeping your heart racing in and out of the gym. That's what really matters. Bridgestone Potenza Sport AS tires with a 50,000-mile limited warranty.